After all that work, it's done. This is by far the coolest thing that I am ever going to build.
Oh, that's cool. But for you, I think you could go cooler.
Yeah, I guess I could. Now, this Pac-Man cabinet's going to be absolutely awesome. Using the actual design of the original cabinet, making a scale replica. It's going to have all these games on it, nice 9-inch screen on it.
Ah, see, now there's cool. But don't you also think you could go bigger?
Yeah, I guess I could do that. Alright. Just about done. The final touches on what by far will be like the biggest, coolest project I've ever done. This 2-player arcade cabinet's gonna blow everything else I've done out of the water. It's gonna be
Well, that is definitely bigger. But how about bigger?
No. 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 Yes! This, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is Ready Printer 1. A project that encompasses over 1,000 hours of print time, about 100 hours of design work, and over 20 kilograms of material. This is my largest project to date. Sponsored by IC3D, who provided virtually all of the filament used in the build, and 3D Gloop, who provided the adhesive to bond it all together, it's a project that has exceeded all of my initial expectations. After completing work on my first mini arcade cabinet that I brought to MRF 2018, I partnered with IC3D to design some more projects for ERF 2018. After printing a pretty kick-ass mini Pac-Man arcade cabinet replica, as well as a 2-player bar top, there was only one way to go. Bigger. The cabinet gets its name from Ready Player 1. I've always loved arcade games, and I built my first MAME cabinet about 12 years ago. But, after reading the book, I suddenly found myself back in the mood for classic arcade games. So, naming the cabinet after the book just made sense. And hey, I even got a like from Ernest Cline, the writer of Ready Player 1. It was a pretty proud day for me, I'm not gonna lie. The initial design work for Ready Printer 1 was a 1:1 scale replica of a Galaga cabinet. After getting the initial design work done, I shared it with Joel Telling. He said he really liked the design, but he pointed out that if I was going to go through all the trouble of making a full-size arcade cabinet, maybe I should make it my own. That seemed like a pretty good idea to me, so I started figuring out what I needed to include if it was going to be a successful design. Now, I knew this was going to be a long project to print, and it was pretty unlikely that I would ever want to repeat the process, so I wanted to make sure this cabinet would be able to play as large a variety of games as possible. Now, classic arcade games usually come in one of two flavors, at least where the screen's concerned. There are horizontal games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, or Russian Attack, and there are vertical games like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, or my personal favorite, 1943. So my first requirement was the screen needed to be able to rotate because who likes playing games with black bars on the screen? Next, I needed to make sure that it had enough buttons to cover the various game types. 6 seemed to be a sensible number. Few games require 7 or more, and it creates a pretty nice layout. I also want to be able to play spinner and trackball games, and with proper configuration, a trackball can be used for both. Plus, the trackball glows green and red, so it's really a win-win. And, since when it comes to joysticks, bigger is always better, and 2 players are better than 1, of course it was going to be a 2-player cabinet. Speaking of glow, I wanted to make sure I added a touch of 80s futuristic feel to this cabinet. And what's more 80s futuristic than the glow effects used in Tron? That's why I incorporated channels on the control panel and around the screen to hold electroluminescent wire, or EL wire for short. This stuff gives a subtle glow that adds a nice accent when the lights are on, and an unbelievably awesome outline when the lights are off. Powering this beast is, probably predictably, a Raspberry Pi 3. Originally I planned to run the machine off a small computer, but when it was coming down to the wire and I needed to get it done, the fastest way to get it done was to put a Pi in it that had a working image. Audio is handled by a simple 12-volt amplifier with the volume control sticking out through the back. I used a couple of speakers that are actually designed for like boat and aquatic use, but they were small enough to fit where I needed them and they sound great. Even when things were their loudest at Murph, you could easily hear the sound of Sonic the Hedgehog hitting the spikes. The monitor is a 17-inch computer monitor, which is nothing too special, but the rotation is definitely the thing I'm most proud of in this build. The screen rides on some simple V-slot bearings, and it runs really smoothly and it's easily movable between the two positions. The original design was around a 19-inch computer monitor, but with 1 week left till Murph, the original monitor died. So I scrambled, redesigned the parts to take my 17-inch monitor, and still got it done. Another thing I absolutely had to add was functioning coin slots. While I was originally tempted to make them work off quarters, I ultimately decided they would be even cooler to have them work off 3D printed maker coins. Each event I bring the cabinet to will have a coin specific to that event and year, and I'm encouraging anyone who's coming to print their own version of it too. The design is pretty simple. A micro switch on top with a bent actuator. It provides just enough friction that the coin presses the switch on the way in and triggers insert coin in MAME. Of course, there's also an insert coin button for each player on the main controller, just in case the novelty wears off. The inserted coins fall into a small drawer that's underneath the coin slots, allowing me to collect maker coins without ever having to leave my table. The other part that turned out even better than I imagined was the marquee. Made by doing 2 color filament swaps during printing, the details came through really nice. I started off by printing clear filament, then switching to translucent yellow, and finally ending on black. Despite the fact that there was almost no surface contact to glue the two halves together, 3D Gloop managed to bond the two halves together and have had absolutely no problems since. The marquee is backlit by a simple 12-volt LED strip and it glows really nice. Also, it gives the lettering a Pac-Man pellet feel, which was totally intentional if anybody asks. Now, when printing Ready Printer 1, I did encounter my fair share of issues. In fact, the part that holds the speakers actually failed 7 times over the course of 7 days on 2 separate printers. It was like it was just cursed. But where printing this thing was difficult, assembling it was a breeze. In fact, it basically put itself together. The cabinet is composed of about 40 main pieces, plus tons of plastic pins that make sure everything lines up and holds together. I used 3D Gloop to glue all the pieces together, and where clamping wasn't possible, I used a 3D pen to stitch the parts together while the adhesive cured. The cabinet has survived over 24 hours in the car, being taken to 2 separate events, and arrived back home no worse for wear, which just goes to show how well IC 3D filament and 3D Gloop work together here. The top of the cabinet is removable, making it a lot easier to bring it back and forth to events. All the wiring between the monitor section and the cabinets are easy to disconnect, so I can tear it down and put it together in about a minute. The response to this cabinet has been nothing short of phenomenal. There was barely any time at Murph where someone wasn't playing the cabinet, and everyone was super supportive. I ended up doing interviews with Joel Telling, Tom Sadlanderer, Walter from Country 3D, Ron from Canadian Maker Project, and even Jerry, aka Barnacles. I feel like there was even more, and if I missed you, I apologize. The weekend went by in quite a blur. If you want a chance to try out Ready Printer 1 yourself, well, you're in luck. I'll be bringing the cabinet to IRF 2019 in Bel Air, Maryland in October. I've also been working with the organizers of IRF to do a little 3D printing competition, so you'll have a chance to win one of my mini arcade cabinets. Stay tuned to this channel over the next couple of weeks and I'll be releasing the details, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I want to extend a special thank you to IC3D and 3D Gloop for believing in this project and helping me make it exist. I want to thank my Patreon supporters who have helped me every project and have helped make these things happen. And all my friends and family who listened to me live and breathe this project for the final few months and helped me overcome issues that often seemed insurmountable at the time. And, most importantly, I want to thank my wife. This project went from the basement to turning almost our entire house into a makerspace. By the time it was done, it was in our kitchen, our living room, our dining room. It was everywhere. Not only did she help me get it done, but she also made the trip with me to Murph, and without her to keep my sanity and push me forward, I can't imagine this project would have been anywhere near successful. If, for some reason, you want to be able to print your own, well, you can. The parts are currently available to my Patreon supporters. You will have to be able to do a little bit of Fusion 360 modeling to be able to make the pieces fit your monitor, but I'm working on a video that walks you through the process. The files will eventually be released for free to the public, but as always, my patrons get first dibs. Thanks again for sticking around till the end of this video. If you love arcade games as much as I do, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe for future content. What would you have done differently in this design? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, stay creative. Can't imagine why it's taking me so long to get this video done.